Good morning. Um, Look, had a good week of preparation. Looking to finish it up here today. I think the guys have really been focused and dialed in. Sense of urgency is definitely there. We had a padded practice this week, which was really good for us. And then yesterday, really focused on third down and a little bit on the red area. I said it before, the two things that we just have to improve on this week, and it's all about this week. It's not about the next 4 weeks or anything like that. It's about this week. It's turnovers, and we got to play better in the red area on both sides of the ball, which at times during the season we've shown that. But again, it comes down to consistency, and it starts one game at a time. This week with Arizona. Fire away. How? See, that's a great question. I'm sleeping well. No, seriously, most people. The funny thing about that is, a lot of people say like, "How are you doing?" all the time, and it's very easy to say like, "I'm good." But if you start to ask people like, "How are you sleeping?" stuff starts to really get teased out. But I am sleeping well, and I appreciate that. How are you sleeping? All right. Yeah, that's right. No, for sure, for sure.
The big news just on Coach Belichick. I wanted to get your opinion on what you think of him being
Yeah.
hired as
Yeah, I said it before. Happy for him. Look, he's a good coach. He should be coaching. I'm sure he's going to do a good job out there. Wish him nothing but the best.
You guys are heading out today.
Yes, sir.
Logistically, was that what's the thinking behind that as opposed to flying on time?
Yeah, it's just a long trip. It's a long trip, and we thought it would be beneficial for us to get out there early. I'm sure the temperature is a little bit different out there as well. So when you talk about trying to get acclimated, that's part of it.
how was the padded practice this week, and how specifically did Cole play in that practice? And do you think he might be ready to play this weekend?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the padded practice was good. Look, we have one more day today before we have to nail down who's active for the roster. But I would say it was good. It was good. But at the same time, we have to recognize he hasn't been out there in pads much at all. And so hopefully it's the growth after that day that we want to see.
I know injury reports don't come out till 4, but we haven't seen Javon Baker on the field this week with a concussion. Can you give us any sense as to where he is overall in the protocol?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what level he is, but I do know he's still in the protocol. And just like we've done in the past, as soon as the NFL and those appointed doctors say he's good, then he'll be on the field.
You guys had a non-padded practice on Monday, obviously a bye week, off day on Tuesday. So to see him on the injury report with a concussion was a little interesting on Wednesday. Was that something that happened in practice in the non-padded?
I don't want to get into specifics on when he got the concussion, but he's in the protocol. I appreciate the question. I just don't want to.
Coach, you recently brought in Truman Jones, local guy. Just what did you see from him?
Just first I would say just the overall attitude, and obviously a decent player, and we think he can help our team, and that's why we brought him in.
Gerard, you talked about getting young players more involved down the stretch. With Joe Milton, could he be elevated to the backup role at some point, or is that pretty firmly Jacoby's gig the rest of the way?
Yeah, as it stands today, I still see Jacoby in that role, and again, who knows what happens, and I reserve the right to change my mind on these things, but as of today, Jacoby's still our number 2 quarterback.
I asked Marcus yesterday, but you've used Joe a lot for scout teams this season. It seems like you've been facing a lot of mobile quarterbacks, so that's really helped. Specifically this week, what have you seen from him and probably getting ready for college?
Yeah, one thing I would say about Joe, I mean, he takes the show team very seriously, which we all appreciate, and helps the team as a whole. And whether he's playing Kyler Murray, who's a guy who really escapes out the back of the pocket, versus some of these other quarterbacks that step up in the pocket, he does a good job mimicking what those guys would do. Look, obviously, he has all the tools that you want, and he's going to be a good player in this league, and he has developed and developed at a nice pace.
How important is that for your defense to have someone who's takes that job so seriously on a scout team?
It's great. I mean, the most important thing we do during the week is practice, and you only have a few of those opportunities. And my message to the rest of the team today was we only have a few more opportunities, and so let's pour everything into this week, whether you're on the show team or you're a starter on this team, and try to walk away with a win.
What's the most important thing you want to see from Drake down the stretch? Maybe focus on one or two things. A couple weeks ago, he talked about avoiding turnovers.
Yeah.
Is there some singular focus for him down the stretch in terms of like a one thing you want to
What he said: protect the football.
Gerard, if Javon's not available, you can only have 4 healthy receivers. Would you guys be comfortable with that, or would John or Braylon in the practice squad be options?
Yeah, those are definitely options. But what I would also say is, one of our most dependable rooms has been the tight end room. And we have tight ends that can split out. We have tight ends that could, line up inline tight end. So definitely possibilities. So whether it's 11 or 12 personnel, it won't change so much.
Is Caden Wallace trending to a place where he could play this weekend, or does he still need a little bit more time?
I think he needs a little bit more time. Again, we'll see what he looks like today, but realistically, being transparent with you guys, realistically, I don't see him playing this week, sir.
Some of the players have said this week that coming off the bye, you guys are through most of your first season as head coach. Players have said that you've had a really consistent message from start to finish here, regardless of the record. Why is that? Why is it important to you to exhibit that to your players?
Yeah, absolutely. As a leader, I think the one thing they want is consistency, and hopefully that permeates throughout the organization. And as you continue to try to build on a culture, I think the attitude of not getting too high and too low is a good mark of a leader. And I would also say that's a good thing that our quarterback is pretty much the same way, and hopefully that continues to permeate throughout the rest of the group. We have guys on this team that we talk about every Wednesday is changing the page no matter what happens. And if you ride that roller coaster of emotion, whether it's through reading articles or social media or not playing as much or as well as you would like to play, if you ride that roller coaster, it turns into a toxic environment. We try to keep that out of here.
Saw some more snaps from Alex Austin and Isaiah Bolden 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You expect those guys to keep getting in there in rotation?
That's the expectation.
What did you see out of them?
Yeah, those guys went out there and played hard. Alex went out there and made a few plays as well, which is very encouraging. And hopefully we can see it again this week.
There's a little bit of a weird situation in the game last night where a player walked off the field, apparently didn't really communicate to the coaches why or anything. I'm just curious, would you bring up a situation like that with your players? Have you talked to them about it already?
I'm not going to get into all the specifics of what we talk about in squad meetings, or I don't want to talk about a player on another team. But it's just not a good look for anyone.
Christian Barmore, I know that when he was coming back, you guys really said the expectation is there's no expectation. At what point with him will there be an expectation? Because it just obviously doesn't seem like he's been as productive as last year. So at what point does that ramp up?
Yeah, that's one of the frustrating things. When you have a guy and then all of a sudden, he plays his first game, which he's been out for over a year, and we expect him to return back to the form where he left off. And I would say that about other players as well. I mean, you could even use, Pep as an example, who, for 6 or 7 weeks was outside the building, and then you expect him to come in and just be the Pep that he was at the start of the season. And we have examples of that over and over again. It's about just really on a day, I'm not sure who that was. Oh, hey. No. As we continue to progress through the season, you just want those guys to continue to get better. And I would say, going back to Barmore, his training camp started 2 weeks ago, realistically. And this is where we are.
Just given Bill's ties to here, going to North Carolina, and some of his former assistants being on your staff, is it you anticipate just your staff with you the rest of the season at least? We've seen situations where I think even last year Ross Douglas maybe left. So I guess that's the question, any of your assistants leaving and go down there while the season's going on?
Well, my anticipation is that we will have all of our coaches, so I'm not sure. But again, it could change. I mean, I don't know.
Do you anticipate Brian Belichick following, his father eventually?
I don't want to get into that. That's a question for him. Did you ask him yesterday? Yeah, what did he say yesterday?
He was focused on Arizona.
All right, so why you try to trip me up? No, I'm just playing. All good?
Final question. Like this State Farm stadium with the memories.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, good memories at that stadium. Good memories. But what I will say, all the things that have happened in the past after the first 5 minutes of walking through the stadium, you're like, all right, what do we have to do today? And hopefully we fly back here with another good memory. All right. Thanks, guys.